The vice president just announced that truckers can have curbside service at McDonald's if their truck's too big to get into the drive-in place.
Hey guys, it's Carter. It looks like we've got most people here. Valerie, are you with us yet? No, we've got Amy. Okay.
I have to apologize. I have a work call at 7, so I'll be only on for the first few minutes.
All right, looks like we've got most people. Bob, you with us? Bob? Oh, you want me to unmute you? I'll let you unmute yourself. You're still muted. We can't hear you. I can see you talking, but can't hear you.
So the captain I see is still on the ship?
Yeah, that's why I'm over in the office, because I had to download from the cloud all the recordings from the last meeting, which took a long time. Bob, you there?
Yes, can you hear me now?
All right, yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
All right, I see we got Valerie. All right, so we're gonna get started. As we said, we're just gonna try and have a weekly Tuesday night meeting for the executive committee, just to see where things stand. So I thought we'd start off with Bob giving us a summary of where the office is. Bob?
All right. Well, the office, the staff is working from home. Until now, mostly they've been working on completing the committee resolutions and getting them out to the respective agencies. There's a few that aren't quite there yet, and to any of the chairs, I think there's a couple of outstanding emails from Eva to a couple of chairs. Just she's waiting for some information, and then she can send those out to the agencies. Josh has been working with Do It, in addition to his committee work, to create a space on our webpage, on our website, where we can list or create links to all the city agencies in general, and more specifically to activities that the city agencies are undertaking to address various aspects of the coronavirus issue. Josh is also working on creating an Airtable where we can list all our committee agendas, as well as attachments such as presentations like landmark presentations or SLA licensing committee questionnaires or sidewalk cafe applications, which would then, besides being available to our committee members, our board members, we would like to make available to the public. I think right now, I know right now that landmarks presentations have always been made available on the website, but we'd like to expand that a little bit under these circumstances, and at a minimum get the SLA questionnaires with some redactions made available to the public as well. So that's kind of what the staff has been up to so far. And I see Carter's chair is vacant. Oh, there he is. Carter, I'm done. It's back to you.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just the internet connection here needs to be plugged in because the wireless is not fast enough, or it's unstable. So I had a chance to just talking to Bob and sort of figuring out what we can do going forward as a board. So one of the things, everybody's been getting different emails from all these different groups, and it's helpful to point, but I thought that we might start working on as a board sort of a static reference point for people to go to for information. So as we get all the different various emails from different groups, that we can just put links to all the information that they're providing onto one place on our website. And I think that while the information is seemingly timely, when people have questions, it's really, you have a question about a specific agency and you want to go find it and find the most updated information. So that's what I'd like to be able to provide links to. I think we have a somewhat sophisticated audience that when they're looking for answers, they want whatever is most updated, and the emails that are sent out are only timely for that moment. And I think that what I'd like to hear from everybody else are some ideas, and I think we can go around first to just sort of touch in where each of the committees stand as far as what's in the pipeline, just so that Bob and I have an understanding on different items. And we're not necessarily scheduling committee meetings, but we want to have an idea of what is what's coming up, just so that we're prepared. And then also, I think that some of the different committees will have ideas for topics that they may want to consider having a meeting on. And it may not necessarily be something where we have a resolution, but it might be informational, or it may be in organizing some information that's specific to the particular committee that might be of use to share with others. I don't have any specific order, so I guess what I'll do is let's see. I had started up something before. Let's see. That was. I guess I'll just go in the order of. I guess it's alphabetical because I took it off our website of the committees. So the first one I have is Arts and Institutions. Robin, are you with us? You have any thoughts on stuff that might be worth discussing from Arts and Institution going forward, or are there any open issues that you have? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. No, well, so we've exchanged some emails about Aurora. Eva Mai is looking, just from a practical standpoint, looking for who my resolution. I kind of putting it back in your court because I feel like my resolution.
Oh yeah, well that's for the past stuff. Yeah, I think that's going to be addressed to the Speaker's office. So, but as far as going,
because it's going in circles a little bit, and I feel like I don't have an answer for her. Is basically what I'm saying, and I threw it back to you guys. So.
Okay, I didn't take a look at that. Yeah, but that would be addressed to the Speaker's office at this point.
Well, I told her I think it's probably Corey's office, but
yeah.
I'm leaving it to you and David and land use people to.
Right. As far as going forward for the arts and institution stuff, I mean, obviously there's a lot significant changes in that area, and so
yeah.
Well, I didn't know if you guys as a committee, if there's any interest to meet to discuss or any ideas for things on that might.
I haven't spoken to my committee members about this. You know, a lot of things are, as you said, everything's unfolding minute by minute. I've reached out to some of the core theater companies that I've been in touch with, letting them know I'm thinking of them. I'm here. I've forwarded a few bits of information along the way. I have a feeling they're all just kind of reeling right now and trying to get their footing and figuring out what's happening. So they know I'm here. I've stepped back a little bit, but I am, wondering if there is going to be some way to make this more, to not forget about them, but to make it, I think there's so much information, like you said, happening, and it changes minute to minute, that I think people just want to know that there's a personal connection of some kind, that we're thinking about them in a personal way. I know that's not necessarily a board mandate, but I feel like everybody, all the information stuff's pretty well covered, and we will cover that. And I'm trying to figure out a way to make it maybe it's just by committee, that to go the extra mile to show that we are here and functioning and happy to help them in whatever way we can. Because the whole landscape is probably going to change. And in a way that I never imagined it could or would. And I don't know what it looks like yet. I have a feeling that the groups that were a little bit more solvent and stable, as we've indicated, as we talked about in our Aurora resolution, those folks are going to have a better chance than the ones that are more itinerant and less established. So I'm just trying to figure out the way that we can help them as a board. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I would like to know that, we have some sort of way of connecting to important people that they may not have the same level of connection. These are small groups that are spread out, and even throughout our district, they're all spread out, whether they're theaters or musicians or dancers, and they're all, Broadway's getting a lot of attention, as it should, and, but I feel like the smaller folks are not necessarily as well covered.
Are any of those groups starting to do anything interactive online? I know a lot of different, there's a tremendous amount of stuff that's starting up. Are we in a place that we might be able to communicate with them to find out?
Well, I know that I can check back with Kristen, who's on my committee, because when I first checked in with them, she mentioned about 4 or 5 things that they were doing. And that was about 5 or 6 days ago. So I can check back in with her and see if those opportunities, events are still happening. I presume most of this stuff, if not all of it, is free. It's all this sort of live streaming and that kind of thing. So I can check back in. I don't know what we can offer them, except for putting it on our website.
That's a big part of putting stuff out, because a lot of people don't know how to hear from them.
Well, the last thing I'll say on this, and I don't know if Valerie's on this Zoom, but I know we're trying to make the website more robust, more. I kind of feel like there must be some way creatively that we can help them. Feel like there has to be something more robust. From not just arts institutions, whatever, small businesses, whatever we can do, I feel like video is kind of where we need to move to show a more human. This is where
right. Well, that's what I'm saying is, what are the links? That's what we want to put together, is a page where people can go for resources. And so if we have a link to, even if it's 6 different theaters that are active right now and have stuff going on, it would be really helpful to share that.
Right.
So
I'm actually saying that we might even want to consider doing some producing of our own to sort of be almost like a promotional, rah. Because I feel like adding links is very passive.
Not at all. That's the most important thing we can do right now, is a static place of local.
Yes, we can do that, but I think we have the capabilities, we have the technology, and I'm creative. I'm a videographer.
Right.
There's a lot I can do. I got a really nice camera. And,
right.
I'm editing and doing video all the time. I feel like there's more we can do with the technology, because links and text it's like washing over everybody, and they're definitely helpful, but I feel like seeing faces and hearing and seeing empathy is what people also need.
Right. Well, that's what we want to put people in touch with and connect them together. That's exactly right.
But I know Valerie and I were in loose touch about how to make the board more 21st century, and that's how I'm visualizing it.
Right. But I'm talking about this week, and that's what I'm saying, is that we want to put together by the end of the week a list of what's going on. And
yeah, well, that's easy enough.
So,
I can reach out and find out from folks. That's no brainer. But I'm thinking for future weeks we should, because these sorts of things take time and building up. So adding links, no problem. I'll get whatever links you need.
Yeah. Well, just as far as anybody who's doing stuff, like that's what we want to know, is because I think that's people are having a hard time sort of figuring out the connecting locally. So even if we can start, even if somebody is at home and wants to connect to a theater group and they had never thought about it, that's why I want to kind of have a central point of local stuff, because it's very hard to find localized information right now.
Right.
About Valerie, do you want?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna hop in. I'm gonna stop touching my face. I was just gonna hop in and say, like, whereas like someone I understand what you're saying, Robin, and we have been we were supposed to meet this month, and then all this happened. But it could be as simple as, maybe it's like a one-on-one Zoom interview, and we take the audio, and then we just take, so that it's just like a singular story, and it's maybe 60 seconds, and it's these little art groups are not going to get the New York Times maybe necessarily covering them, but they're hyper local to us, and so maybe the role of the board is to help syndicate some of this content that's just really low lift, that's just a 60-second clip or a 45-second clip, just someone from an arts organization talking about what this means to them.
I really think that makes it, there's a lot, because there is a lot out there right now, and I don't know about your emails, I'm getting a lot of content as far as things I can live stream and do, and it's a little overwhelming.
Right.
And when I did the crawl years ago, not the latest one, but even years ago, but people were like so excited to have that sort of personal, like they knew all these places were around, but it was that it took that extra little step, and I know that takes time and effort, and but it makes the difference, because when it's just lots of links and lots of companies, and it doesn't necessarily connect. But I think you're right. Even if it's a 60-second, not talking about a lot, but just if somebody hears somebody's voice or sees somebody's face, that will, and they're right down the block. How can I help those people who are right down the block from me? I think that's what we're all looking at. We're looking at small businesses locally. I took a little walk around, so I'm like, oh, I didn't know that Italian restaurant was there and they made sandwiches. I'm going to go out and take my walk tomorrow and buy a little panini from that guy on Sullivan Street. But if I just received a link from them, I don't know, with all the links flying at me, I don't know if I would notice it as much.
That's exactly why I wanted to have a static page and not sending stuff out as emails. Is when somebody wants information on a particular section or something, that's what they want to go look at. It's not in an email, and they can say, "Oh, I'm interested in theater. What's going on?"
Well, I think if you have that static page, we can do something that's low maintenance, whether it's a 60-second soundbite. Because some people, if it's going to be an extensive list over time, it's going to get lost, and it's not going to necessarily connect with people. But I think if you can add any kind of extra enhancement, and that's all I have to say about it. I know you have plenty of people.
Oh no! What I was going to say, maybe Valerie and I can touch base with you on this in the next couple of days and figure out some ways to sort of envision that, because it is about connecting the people. That's really what. We only have so much we can do, but let's do the best we can do with what little we have right now.
Well, we have the technology. We've had the website. Even if it's not going to get revamped, there's got to be some way to put some video or audio up on there and create a little section that has, not just about arts institutions, but any small business, somebody who just wants a little 30 seconds of testimonial about their business, why they love the neighborhood, why that you should come and get a sandwich from them. And 10% off. Come on.
Yeah. We're almost kind of like, and it goes to small business too. Like it's almost like how to make your like your daily walk meaningful.
Exactly.
Sounds so.
I know we're not in marketing, but these are different.
No, we're not. We're not.
That's not our thing, and I know that's crossing the line. But in these situations, I just feel like if we're doing it at all, we might as well go the extra step and just try to be a little bit more, robust in getting a message out if we can.
Right.
Again, I don't want to. I have plenty of time to do this. I'm working from home. I can do.
Yeah. So we can touch base on the arts and institutions section with Valerie, and I can give you a call and we can figure out what we can do for this week and for next week.
And I'm also if it applies to social services, maybe there are certain local village care or any other place.
Well, we're gonna that's why I'm just trying to go through each of the committees, and then we can talk about like how we break down a larger. Josh is going to be working on setting that up, and then hopefully we can be working on filling in the content for the separate areas. So that sounds like there's a lot we can do. Yeah. Okay. Janet, are you on? I don't know if I'm looking here. All right. I don't think I see Janet on here. But I over the weekend, I put together, I went to all the different bids, the 7 different bids, and their websites, and some are in different places than others as far as what businesses are open, what businesses are closed. The NoHo bid had had something great. They had a link to a GoFundMe page for just about every single restaurant staff in NoHo that each of the individual restaurants were hosting. And the idea was that if people are, they're not going to the restaurants, they can at least still help out the staff in their local restaurants. I thought that was kind of a very, very specific localized issue. My concern, and I had talked to Dan a little bit about this earlier today, is just that the businesses that aren't in bids, and we've got a lot of them obviously in areas, and how do we touch base with those businesses or create some passive way maybe that they can share information with us. I was thinking maybe setting up some sort of a Google Docs where they can just funnel in information to an email that we send out. But that's sort of
that's going to be, Carter.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be tough to lay on their shoulders, but I think very much that we spoke about before is, and I'll reach out to Janet, but I can also set it up. We reach out to a couple bids that can kind of educate us, through a Zoom call, keep it open to the public. And because they are the communication hubs right now for many of the large and small businesses, they have a lot of information that's accurate. And I think that we allow them to provide that information to our community, what's pertinent to COVID-19, including, what's going to happen with unemployment, any kind of payroll tax updates, small business grants, loans. I think, we just go ahead and do that. And we put it on the calendar. And since Janet's not here, I'm happy to take the lead and reach out to Ellen and Cordelia, the ones that have been.
Yeah, I already have links to each of their direct
but I think that it's good to
COVID-19
have.
sites.
I think it makes sense to have a meeting because a lot of business owners have questions.
Sure, yeah. I'm just saying what, by the end of this week, what can we, as far as putting information, direct information, I have all the information for the bids. Some of them have just COVID-19. Some of them have lists of businesses that are open and closed as of today.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty good about that, just current relevant information. I think, helping the business is still going to take a few weeks for this to settle out on the specifics. Even just talking to the electeds, people are not quite sure even what the best direction to go in is yet, because they're not really quite sure where things stand. There's some big openings, but I think having them in for a meeting, even virtually, is a really good idea. A lot of them have significant information already. What I mentioned before is that what they have that's very valuable is lists of businesses that are open, that are on their website, so people don't have to walk around. And
Carter, while we were sitting here, we just got an order to self-quarantine if everybody's from New York City. I don't know if you got that alert.
Sure, but at the same time, you've also got the essential businesses that are allowed to.
I think something just changed, like within the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, so all the restaurants are going to be closed?
Like I said, it's anybody who is in New York City needs to.
No, who visited, who was in.
Yeah, I saw on CNN that it was who visited, yeah.
So it doesn't apply to folks in New York City, Rich?
No, they're trying to keep people from spreading it outside the city.
Yeah.
So if you leave the city in the last, recently, so you have to decide for yourself what recently is. We left a week ago. We decided before this to self-quarantine for 14 days. So we've got another week to go.
One of the things that I don't think that's going to happen in New York, at least, if you listen to the governor, is that people are not going to be, at this point, without any warning, just not allowed to leave their homes. And when I say businesses that are open, I'm saying what bodegas are open, what's something that's closer to me. I just had this happen the other day. It's like, well, which direction am I going to walk in from my place? Am I going to go north, south, east, or west? And if I know beforehand what's open in any of those directions, I can make that decision. And that's kind of where some of this stuff starts to be helpful.
And it's going to be limited to food and medicine, basically.
Right, but and restaurants are still included as an essential business, and the list is actually a little bigger than you think, which is surprising. But the important thing is we can't keep, the information is out there about what is allowed to be open. It's not up to us, but that's where the bids are pretty good about listing what is open. And so I can give you an example. One of my older neighbors was very concerned because their cell phone no longer has a battery charge. And they're like, where can I go and get my cell phone fixed? And technology repair places are considered an essential business. So I'm just saying that bids have that, but how do we extend that same opportunity to communicate with us, maybe of a separate list of businesses that might want to share that they're open? I don't want to be exclusionary to businesses that are only in bids. I don't see us as necessarily a source of information, but if we're going to extend that to sharing it from other places, I'd like to be able to share it equally to people who aren't represented.
I think, as we discussed earlier, it's very difficult for us to be the data collectors. It's a big, responsibility, a big task. I won't be able to do that. That's going to be tough. But what we could do is offer, if you are open, we can post you on the site. or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what CB7 was just taking a list, a questionnaire that they did on Google Docs. The business just fills out their contact info, their hours, their address, what their business is, and then, you know, just dump it into
Great, and I think if you
put it
get
on.
if you get the store to fill it out, then
Yeah, I mean, and that's, we're not going to go fill it out, but if they fill it out, then you know, but we also have the 7th Avenue South Alliance, which isn't a bid. They're doing that as well. So I'm trying to be inclusive because I don't want to exclude.
Right, I agree with you on being
You know.
inclusive, but the businesses have to reach out as
Yeah.
well. We have to
But the
let
bit-
them know that we're a source.
Would the community board, like in an email blast that's you know, specifically siloed to the businesses, send out an email blast saying?
No, we just send it to everybody. I mean, we're not going to, you know, if it's not relevant to somebody, we'd hope they wouldn't fill it out. But if there's a business and other people could forward it to local businesses, say, hey, you know, put yourself on the list.
If we're going to ask people to write in that they're open and so forth, it's very important to include the hours.
Right.
Almost every business has different hours from their normal ones.
Hours, website, and phone number, so that people can also verify on their own.
Mhm.
You know, is the other part. So I think
And
that's
probably a list of service, what they actually offer the community.
right.
So Carter, are you going to be designing that survey?
Well, we'll put it on the list of things that we want to have. I mean, and that's something that Josh, when he's there, CB7 I think is already doing it. It's either CB7 or CB8 already is doing it, so we can just copy their model of what they're doing as far as the questionnaires. I think it's fairly straightforward.
What I can do is I'll draft an email about an upcoming meeting that we'll have, but also request to fill out a survey. I might not be able to design the survey, and maybe with a potential meeting date as well for the future, so that we can get experts speaking about how small and large businesses can handle this from the point of view of the Fed, city, and state level.
Yeah, I mean, I was just on the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce call yesterday. Totally useless waste of time because it's too early, and I think it frustrated business owners more to the nth degree than anything. The comments that were made were just like, kind of like, how can you help me now? I don't really care about what you're planning on doing.
Right.
And so I think that's something we need to take into account. We're really not in a position to help people now. So what can we do to not be a clutter to them, but actually useful? And that's why I keep going back to the static page of when somebody wants to come find their own information, we can help put them in touch with stuff. But it's you know, the overload is starting, and stress, and people are just looking for stuff that's useful right this minute. And that's sort of where I'm trying to find the line for us of how we can help without being, you know, adding too much. And I hope everybody thinks about that, because that's very
practical terms, Carter. People don't have real information on how to apply for grants,
right.
What qualifies. These are pretty simple answers. And you know, I think if businesses, you know, we can answer some of those questions if they really feel as though they haven't been getting answers from the SPS, which basically doesn't pick up the phone. So, and is very slow in responding to any kind of email, like they haven't yet on emails that I've sent, just as a test. So, because they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, I think we can provide a minimal amount of expertise in what can be done and choices that can be made. And I think that the Economic Development Small Business Committee is a perfect place to hold that forum.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just, you know, it's just keeping something that's useful to people. That's an important aspect. So,
so you and I can work together on that. The other thing is, just moving on to the next subject, you know, the Pure 40 Task Force meeting is going to happen on Friday morning. And I've changed my mind. I think we definitely should participate. And because the governor's deadline remains May 1st, and we need to continue to have a voice. Carter.
Yeah, no, the deadline is just that they want to change the legislation, correct? So that's
correct. And so far, as of this afternoon, there was a note that said that it has not changed. And that came from Wendy Pastor's office.
Right.
And so, Daniel, that's for the Pure 40 Task Force. for the board to meet, right? Not a big overall.
No, it's just for the task force. Yeah, there's
Okay.
four of us. It's Katie, Rich, me, and Carter who serve on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not Pier 40, it's the Hudson River Park Task Force.
Restroom, sorry, right. Hudson River Park Task Force.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And land use, Frederica, there's the 2 items in the pipeline, right?
Hi, everybody. Hope you're all well. We had the 2 PCEs, and as previously reported, we had no objections. We rarely do, so we can let them go. We have Cleveland Place, which hasn't started yet, so there's no clock. We have the Dominic Hotel Publix Cafe, but that I think the clock has stopped on that. And we also, I believe there is an opportunity to perhaps have a last word on Zara if they were to apply for a waiver. I've heard from the borough president's office that they're willing to pass along anything we want to add. So Anita and I will be getting in touch with the land use committee and proposing just proposing various scenarios. I think Anita's probably still.
Do we need to? We have already the positions for the most part already in our resolution, correct? So we wouldn't have to necessarily vote on anything.
Well, we're just going to see
right?
what what the committee feels about whatever further input we want to have, or if we want to have any further input. So the land use committee will discuss that. And what was I saying?
But I mean, what I'm saying from that is that our position, are we evolving our position from what it was?
That's what the land use committee might have the opportunity to do, and that's what we'll discuss. If there's no interest, then we won't.
Well, in order to ratify that, we need a full board meeting. And so what I'm asking is that can we conduct this based on the position the board already has and the testimony that we also gave, both of us, at City Council, because that we have a lot more freedom to work within, because we've already passed those positions, that we can write a separate letter, as opposed to if we're going beyond that, where we'd have to create a resolution and vote on something. So
well, I mean, we do as you're aware, our positions do alter.
Well, we already testified that we didn't want to have a waiver for the loading.
We can talk offline about this, but that's the only thing that has any that there is to do. So we can talk about
that. The reason I just bring it up is that if people want to have meetings where there's a potential for a resolution, we need to really plan that out.
Yeah, we will. We'll see what we get back from the committee, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. And then Chanel, how did you have anything?
Ours is probably, rather than other committees, very clean month by month. And if something's laid over, canceled, whatever happens, it comes back to us as though it were a new application. So we don't carry anything over from month to month in the way that some people do.
And is Landmarks, what's the status of them currently, or is Bob, do you know?
I believe they have 5 applications right now for April.
Okay.
That's as per Florence telling me that last Monday, a week ago. And I don't think we've gotten anything since then.
I've been thinking about how to do using this platform, and I wrote down some ideas and so forth, and we'll refine it with somebody who's even more sophisticated about Zoom than I am if we're going to have an online meeting. The question is about the public, and is there a way to do what we asked for at I believe at the meeting of their sending their comments in ahead of the meeting.
Yeah, I think for some of our smaller committees that deal with individual applicants, we should be able to have our committee meetings without too much problem, provided we have materials from the applicants in advance.
And we always have that now.
Right.
And Florence keeps badgering them until we do.
Right.
And then they could put up something if it may be actually better. They should be equipped to put it on so that they can point or use it as they make their presentations, whatever is smoother.
Right, and if necessary, we can ask them also to send a printed copy to Doris or to Albert or anybody else who might require a printed copy.
Albert's fine. It's Doris's.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so that sounds good. And
There's one other thing.
Sure.
Village, the Preservation Society has, in the midst of everything, asked for nominations for small businesses or for other big businesses for their award ceremony that happens in connection with the annual meeting. So if people have ideas about that, you can go to the Village Preservation website and there's a portal to make nominations or suggestions for nominations.
Is that something that the board does, or is that something, I don't recall the board.
No, I mean just
individuals, right?
Individual. I'm just sort of spreading the word.
Oh, okay, got it.
No, it's an individual activity.
And
one thing that occurred to me is we normally do something like Patisserie Claude on 4th Street. I nominated one year, that was selected. It may be in this situation something about the pharmacist and the stock people at the stores. They wanted to go a little broader. I'm going to suggest that. It occurred to me because the day it came in, the head pharmacist at the Dwayne Reed was very helpful in a complicated thing for me. And I've seen him with other people, and I don't think I want to single out one pharmacist at one drugstore, but something. So that was an idea I'll put to them.
That's definitely a great idea. Okay, and just so there's clarity, when Bob, what triggers Landmark starting moving again?
If they're going to have a public hearing. Right now, they've scheduled one for April 7th. The only CB2 applications that are on that agenda are applications that Chenault's committee has heard already. Can
you
and also somebody, that the board has passed.
That's right.
Has agreed to.
Can you check in with them and see when they think they're going to be scheduling that next one? Because that's going to dictate when we would need to have our hearing. And then just jumping back to land use really quick. So they're suspending the ULURPs on a 5-day continuing basis. So each week they're suspending the ULURP. So that sort of is the criteria for whether or not land use would need to start up again, and whether or not any applications. I don't think that Cleveland or the Dominic Hotel have been put on any clock yet. So those,
correct.
We'd have plenty of time before they actually get certified. So, okay.
One more landmarks, if we could have sent whatever's in now.
Yes, I think that's
so
already
just
been done.
Behave as though things are working normally.
Bob, did those all get sent in?
They're sent in and they're on the website. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, can we extract them from the website? Normally Florence sends them to all the committee members.
Oh, yes, they're available on the website. Just scroll down on the home page and you can click on it and they'll open right up.
They're there now.
And we can extract the files.
Yes.
All right, SLA 1 and 2, Donna, I see you're on with us. I don't see Bob.
So we have a number of applications, but they're not, what are we doing?
Yeah, all right, so we've got the list though. We've got, it was about, 15 to 18, something like that. I think I'm gonna have in the next number of days, what we'll do as an example, just so everybody knows, we're going to have the office staff, Florence is going to reach out and to see whether or not those applicants are prepared to go forward, if they have all their materials ready, if they're interested in going forward in a format, if they're meeting with us online, and if they're moving ahead, we're going to have a meeting. And if people are holding on, we'll wait. But nothing is moving too fast. We've got plenty of time to make decisions on that.
So if we try to do a meeting, is there going to be a way for us to be able to let the public go in on that too?
Yes. Definitely. So my idea is going forward, we're going to have to do some experimenting, but we're going to probably have some smaller committee meetings and experiment with how long it takes to have the public involved on a committee level. It may take a little bit longer than usual, but I'd like, I don't think it's too complicated to do. It's just going to take a little longer, but it's all in the preparation prior to the meeting, not during the meeting. And I think we have a pretty good handle on that. So we can, and including the public, we want to get copies of all applications to the public as well, so that people aren't just hearing information for the first time at our meetings. But I think we should be in good shape.
So is that something you're looking at posting on the website as well?
Yes. Yep. Josh is already has a way that's set up to do that. So all we need to do is redact the applications before we would put them on the website.
Okay.
So, and the Liquor Authority is still moving forward. They had a full board hearing today. So everybody knows they've suspended for the moment 30-day hearings, 500-foot hearings, and they are having us accept 30-day notices electronically as opposed to by certified mail. So different agencies are moving forward. It just may not be at a rapid speed. All right, Rich, Parks and Waterfront.
Well, there's this move to clean or to stop people from going to the playgrounds. Bob, you sent that around earlier today. They're just signs that are going up saying they can't clean them and kids should go in them, right? The only other notifications we've seen, Hudson River Park's still open. People are able to go there. They are able to walk around. In general, we haven't seen that parks are being closed. Like in Los Angeles, you saw the mayor there closed all the parks and the beaches because people were gathering in groups and playing basketball. I've heard nothing about, like that here. And it seems that people are walking to them. It wasn't the thing that the governor was complaining about. Those were markets, the street fairs and things. So hopefully the parks will remain open.
Is there any, have you heard anything more or gotten any emails on this idea of closing down some streets, for recreation space?
No, there was the idea of closing down streets so people could walk down the middle of them. That was just a story that went around. I haven't seen anything about that. The idea they could walk down either for recreation or to distance themselves.
Right.
But perhaps they're finding that the foot traffic is low enough that that's not an issue. I mean, Frederica, you wouldn't believe around our blocks there's nobody at certain times of the day.
The last time I was in Washington Square Park, the drug dealers were social distancing.
They were the only ones there. So yeah, she sent me a picture to show me. But I think the bigger question, or the other question I have for our, and it's coming up quickly, is for our meeting next week. We're going to get an update, and we're going to do it with Arts and Institution. We were going to do it at the Whitney. Is that I'm getting questions as to whether we'll be able to do that virtually.
Right.
What are who would be giving you the updates?
It would be Pier 55, the group on the Diller Island, or what they now call what do they call it? Little Island. Little Island. Yeah, that's the main one. And then there's Hudson River Park really wants to have some sort of a gathering because they want to tell us about the new vendor, a food vendor that they're going to have on like Pier 45. I think those were the two big, but the big one, overriding big one was the update on Pier 55, which hopefully, will still open one day. And
yeah, I mean, have you been in touch with them? Do they want to
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're on board if we want to do it, but I don't know how. I don't know if it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's sort of where we are. We got a couple of weeks, I think here of time until we need to do any of these things.
Well, that's April 1st. So
yeah,
that's the reason. April 1st is coming up. It's not mandatory. It's just since the park is still open, and since, it just seemed like it might be interesting to people, but it might be so good that we delay it until we can meet again.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be meeting in person, I don't think, anytime soon. So doing this virtually, and in some respects, people have to sort of settle into this new normal, right?
Right.
So
I almost feel like we need a month for people to give it, because I feel like whatever information they might give us on April 1st is not going to last very long.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever the May meeting would be a little bit more effective, I think.
Because Diller Island, I mean, that's not pressing, right? I mean, it's not like.
No, I suppose you're right. Yeah.
But the Pier 45 vendor, that is, if it's something different. I mean, are they looking for input from us, or are they just looking to introduce us to them?
It's one of those cases where they've chosen the winner. They're getting rid of the bagels not bagels, the waffles and dingies or whatever, and they've got somebody else in, and they wanted to tell us about it, but they've made their mind, pretty much made their mind up.
And they're also scheduled on the SLA.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's right. She did. Oh, we talked about that. Carter, you remember you told me they didn't show up, and then they were going to come the next time, right?
So maybe do you want to reach out to the trust and just see where it stands?
Yeah, she wrote to me yesterday.
Okay.
She wrote to me two days ago, maybe. What's her name?
Yeah, I mean, because we could. Are they using this as an opportunity to get the word out? Sort of in advance, to publicize them, or is there something unique here, or is it?
What, for that thing at Pier 45?
Yeah, for Pier 45. I mean,
let me see if they have. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, it's from Rashi. That's who it was from. Or Rashi Puri. She said she's the one who wrote to me. It's she's finalizing the selection for the Pier 45 outdoor cafe concessionaire, and she wanted to figure out a way to introduce them to the committee. And then she wrote to me on Sunday and said, I guess she wrote to me. She wrote to me yesterday and said, I wanted to make sure that, are we going ahead with it? Will it be done virtually? So that was it. It's just, they like to, the other thing while we had her, Carter, you wanted me to ask her about,
the ships.
The ships, which had been on the SLA committee but hadn't shown, and we just wanted to ask her a question if she was going to come. We just wanted to know if they were going to be on the SLA. Maybe they already decided. So that's the only thing that she just wants a community gathering to say that they've arrived by the community.
Maybe we should, just to Robin's point, maybe we should just push it into the second or third week of April. We can still do it. Maybe like tentatively sort of sort out what the agenda for the meeting would be, and this is a part of what I wanted to put together, is what's in the pipeline for every committee, and then we can think about maybe setting the dates as we go forward. Just seeing how I know everybody wants to plan, but I think it's as things are changing here, even as we speak. It seems like next week is just going to be different from this week, and the week after that's going to be different. So I'd rather just kind of get a picture right now of everything that's in the works, and then let's just put it together.
Okay.
Too complicated for us to sort of figure it out. Not that the meetings are complicated, but we wouldn't have a resolution, for example, from that meeting, correct?
No.
Yeah.
No,
So
It's just an update. And they had promised to update us periodically, and they hadn't in a while. And Robin reached out, and we reached out. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we can delay it. I'm sure they're not going to be upset about not presenting. So we can push it out. Who knows? They may not even be able to. You know.
I mean, that's the question, even on that concession. You know how that's. You know. Yeah. That's I don't know what the RFP date. You know what their dates are for that. So.
Well, she wrote to me yesterday, and she really wanted to get it in to April over the May, but I can check with her and see if it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if we get going, that's something we can just do quickly. I don't think it's too complicated, but
Indeed, yeah.
Talk about it a little bit and
okay.
Further on in the meeting. Joe, for quality of life, you still with us, Joe?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So
I haven't seen any agenda items. Bob, is there any scheduled?
So far, we've only gotten 3 renewals on sidewalk cafes. We've gotten no new applications. Josh, I don't think has checked yet on the street fairs, but my sense he did mention, I think, that there's been nothing new in the past week filed with on the SAPO database. I would imagine that the promotional and commercial stuff is gonna stop for the time being. That's the stuff that's always, you know, gives us a short window, just a few weeks to respond. And some of the longer stuff that's at the back end of the summer, we don't need to concern ourselves with that yet anyway. So, but right now there's nothing for you pressing, no pressing agenda items.
Or any agenda items.
Or any agenda items. with the one caveat that we should check the SAPO list in case something is on for maybe an event maybe in May or June, which maybe we would need to put on, but I don't think there's anything right now.
Okay. So
well, I don't think we've ever not had a quality of life meeting, so I think a missing month would be a welcome interruption, but okay. Not that we would welcome not having street fairs, but.
Right. Yes.
But no, I don't know. I agree with a lot of what's been said, and it sounds like, it sounds like there's good ideas of going forward. I do like Robin's idea of trying to like do some like, you know, updates from CB2. Like it just feels like since the Villager website is gone, that's really a lost resource, and you know, the Village Sun is just a little thing, and I don't know. Does seem like there's space for us to fill of advocating for our own community.
Yeah, you know, and just to speaking to that, I was going to get to that a little when we get to the new business, but yes, I'm just trying to figure out how we can sort of recalibrate the next week.
For sure. Yeah, I know. Sorry.
And then jump in. No, but you're right. I mean, that's something that, you know, we had already started talking about a little bit, but it's, you know, just getting something up and going that can be useful right now. I mean, that's information hungry.
Just having that call last week with the Northwell Health people was so helpful, and I feel like since there's such a lack of local news, that people feel like we're reading these New York Times national. I get texts from people who are like, "Is everything okay?" And I feel like it's hard being in the center of it and not really realizing what's happening, how our own neighborhood's being impacted, and that could be really helpful information.
And actually, going back to you, Rich, I mean, that's a pretty astounding notice from the Parks Department, and I think
for the playgrounds, and
we kind of take it in stride of that's just what it is. Yeah, that's astounding because all these kids are home with their parents, right? And
no, but I don't know why I wasn't surprised. I think it's been a running story in articles in the Times and elsewhere, you know.
Yeah.
Or
I guess I'm not surprised either because playgrounds are normally not sanitized, and you know they're getting lots of germs when they go to them. This is just a different kind of germ.
I'm not saying I'm surprised that they've done it. It's just astounding in that is a very important component.
It's a shame,
kids. So, you know, maybe we could think about, is there such a thing as an alternative, you know, what do you do?
No.
That's,
it's been proposed to close certain streets to give space of equipment and somehow enforce distance.
Yeah.
I felt that today walking up I walked up 6th Avenue up to 23rd Street on a long dog walk, and it is like there are a lot of people out, and sometimes the streets aren't being aren't being used that much by automobiles, so it is almost like
true.
Why can't we use that space to distance ourselves better,
Right.
It's the one thing we gotta be conscious of is the ambulance throughways.
Right.
That's the now that there are no cars, the one thing I noticed is the ambulances, and I'm surprised by the streets they take sometimes.
Right.
So I just.
Yeah. All right, moving on over to Janine for the schools.
Schools, and I think are Mar and Patricia still on as well? I'm just saying the big issue, schools was not, our committee wasn't going to meet in April regardless. But the biggest issues for schools may or may not directly affect CB2 communities, but affect people nearby. Food, technology, access to it, how to use it, childcare, and helping District 75 students, and then prioritizing those with the greatest disabilities. And later is the quality of the learning, because the quality of the learning is not, I mean, it's only day 2 of Learn at Home. It's more like pull up a few assignments. I think it's different at every school, but it's not a full day of school. In terms of food, PS 41, 75 Morton, and PS 130 are, so 3 out of 4 of this, elementary and middle schools in our community are places where people can pick up 3 meals a day. It's 1 breakfast and 2 lunches. So it's a bit boring, but it's free food. And I just want to give a shout out to Patricia as well as Mar, who really pushed. They got calls. Families were coming down from Chelsea, from the NYCHA buildings and elsewhere to 75 Morton. And there wasn't a local place in Chelsea that was open. And PS 11 is now open for picking up food, so people don't have to put their health in danger and ride the bus to go pick up 3 meals. Patricia, do you want to add anything else that you're hearing? Actually, I don't know if she's still on the call.
No, I think you covered it. You covered it. It was just baffling that there was nothing open on the Western Corridor, but it's resolved today, thankfully.
Yeah. So.
And Janine, you and I had chatted just briefly. I mean, is there anything that we can put on our list of information that parents wouldn't already have, or?
As a parent, if I get one more email with 15 helpful Learn at Home sites that I can spend 5 hours on and peruse and create my own curriculum, I will go crazy. It's just too, I mean, people just want to be told what to do for their kids and keep it simple and add to it. I mean, that's my personal view. I'm not an educator and I don't have 10 hours a day to come up with a new curriculum. So that's my personal view. I mean, I think it's those things like where to get technology if you don't have it, where to get help, where to get multilingual help, where to get food.
Do you think that after the first week that most of those issues will have settled out, or are there going to be some long-term issues in those areas?
It's hard to say because everything's in the beta. I'm just going to say I'm reasonably intelligent. My husband is the chief data officer for a large company, and we were confused by the multitude of instructions coming through Google Classroom. And we use Google all the time, so we already knew how to use the technology. And we're native, we speak English fluently, and it still is confusing. And it's only about 2 hours of school a day, maybe hour and a half. Plus reading. So I do think it's the longer term issue is, there's just, the wealthier families, people with more resources will figure this out, and the families with fewer resources, and in New York City, 70% of the students in the 1.1 million student network are living in poverty. So there's going to be a huge learning divide and digital divide, and I think we come back to that. But I don't have any answers for that now. I just know it's going to be it is a problem and will be a problem.
If you hear of any local schools, they figure out any volunteer opportunities for people to help kids one-on-one, you know, somehow in this case without being physically present, you can just let us know.
Yeah, and there are some, I mean, there's a couple of things like Include NYC, and a couple of people are sending me stuff tonight. So let me pull through that, because there may be some resources for students who normally get one-on-one or small group support at school that some social service organizations may be offering. So still kind of collecting that.
I think
but if anyone sees,
there are a lot of people who do have some skills that are sitting at home right now. I think if they could remotely even help, even in whatever way, I know it's difficult if you're not physically present, but help people talk them through or sort things out or something. I'm sure there are people who, if they knew how to help, would. And so,
yeah,
just, you know, I guess that'll sort itself out over the coming days.
yeah.
All right, thanks, Janine.
Okay.
Mar or Patricia, you have anything else you want to add? No? Okay. Susanna, did you touch in with us yet? Okay, Susanna had said she was going.
She couldn't make it.
Yeah, couldn't make it, yeah. It's been late. Okay, so.
Maybe she went to the theater. Just kidding.
Shirley, are you with us?
Yeah, actually, the April Traffic and Transportation Committee meeting was supposed to be for the quarterly update on the 14th Street Priority Project. And it would really involve endless people showing up and wanting to speak, so it would probably be much too cumbersome to do anything like that. Though DOT is certainly looking into doing some kinds of presentations. The other part was that DOT also has a report. If you recall, the Truck Priority Project quarterly updates have to do with Sam Schwartz Company monitoring conditions around the project and then preparing a report. And so they do have a report, and I'm just trying to decide whether we distribute the report and who do we distribute it to. We've had no inquiries whatsoever from constituents interested in that project.
It seems kind of interesting in that, I mean, there's no more, the data is sort of irrelevant at this point for the last week, right? Because there's been such upheaval. And you know, I'd say, you know, unless somebody's asking for it, right, it seems sort of immediately outdated at the moment.
Yeah, well, that was, I guess, why I couldn't make up my mind. And we've had absolutely no queries. No queries on the big issue before all this happened, which was flexible delineators, which had been put in very close to each other on 12th Street. So it, for now, disappeared. So your feeling is leave it be for now?
I think so. I mean, it seems sort of a moot point right now until, you know, there's some more movement. Yeah, I mean, just seems like it's a moot point. But you know, we can change that. So were there any other issues that were sort of in the pipeline? It's pretty much
nothing that has any kind of deadline, no time.
Do we, you know, it seemed like the governor was asking the speaker and the mayor for some ideas on potentially closing down streets for recreation. Is that something, you know, that you guys informally as a committee could put together some ideas of some streets that could safely be blocked off without, you know, having?
Well, has been listed streets. Office, I think the mayor has put out a list of streets, but you mean streets right here in our vicinity?
Yeah, I mean, streets that would not
Great.
make a difference if they were barricaded off and are not main streets. You know, I mean, I know during street, what is it, safe streets in the summer, you know, they use, it's like a cop on every block. I don't think that's the idea here, but, you know, putting up some barricades to just close off some, you know, much more passive streets doesn't seem all that complicated.
Not really, and they have been talking, somebody brought up the idea of reviving the play streets. There are some like PS Street.
Yeah.
But the program has been almost deep for several years now, and they were talking about reviving that. So sure, yeah, I can get out to the committee and
Yeah, I mean, some thoughts we could just share and see where that goes. I mean,
Shirley, it's Joe Gallagher. I was going to say it might be a good time to suggest, because we have had a resolution on University Place being a green space. It seems like a good opportunity to try it out.
That might be one for now. But we certainly should talk among the committee, right, Joe? I mean, you're all for this. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about it in a Zoom if we did a committee meeting, but I don't know if it has to be a public hearing or not.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, it's something to think about, because I think we got a lot of streets that really are.
But Carter, do they really want to encourage kids to be running around together?
Well, it's not the play streets. It's just closing off streets where people might be able to walk. You know, it's not so that people can social distance, right? I mean,
okay. Yeah, I thought this was coming off of the playgrounds not sterilized conversation.
Well, you know, I mean, that's a good point. You don't want to confuse people, right? So
yeah, I'm not sure what we were thinking of alternatives for them. Yeah, I don't know what, I haven't really followed it, or kids running around, and I guess if they did it, I just don't know what's allowed. As I've said, basketball is the example they keep saying of that they don't want to see.
I was talking to a friend of mine who has a young son, and he said, I just want him to run.
Yeah.
I don't care where he runs to, or what he's doing, just he can run in circles for all he cares. He just wants to tire him out.
Yeah. And it's good for your immunity to be active. Yeah.
What about right now? Washington Square Park is a lot of the green spaces are fenced off. Is it possible to ease some of those restrictions?
No, this is the time when the grass is coming in or something. They try to protect it. They let those down a little later in the season so people can lie down on the grass and things.
Well, grass being let in and then opposed to social distancing to prevent like a pandemic might something that should be considered.
Difficult. Yeah, those closed streets would be to give people just enough space to be able to walk and have a little enjoyment and keep their distance.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it's something we're going to have to figure out as we go forward. And, I just wanted to make sure if that came up, we had some local ideas, because I think we've got some areas that are utilized more so than others.
Charlie and Joe, the meatpacking area is really empty too, with nothing here. That plaza used to be played in all the time. So there are big spaces kids can run around, up here if you want to look at that area.
Okay. Is there anything, all right, I think that's pretty much all the committees. I know people have to jump and do things. Does anybody want to jump in with any new ideas or any new business or some thoughts of things that,
I don't have any new ideas. And I'm not sure if you mentioned this, Carter. How do we create our own Zoom meeting? Are you going to be sharing the credentials with us?
That's the borough president's office has just set it up. We basically have one account for the board. So basically, I guess we'll figure it out from there, setting up the different meetings and then figuring out who's going to be hosting them. So the account that I'm using right now is the board's account, but we're going to stop using this account and go to using the borough president's the accounts that they had set up for us, and that has the webinar function, which allows the public to be included. So that's pretty much where we are at this point. And I think that on the borough presidents, we'll be able to identify different people who can host the meetings. And I think they're putting together some documentation as far as, some of the best practices, et cetera, on that. So that's where that stands, but that's sort of a work in progress. I tried to sign into it earlier to use for this meeting and the password didn't even work. So
ultimately, if we have a virtual meeting, we'll run it through the Manhattan Borough President's Office, but that information is to come.
No, it'll be run. We each have our own, each of the boards has their own sign-in, but we may be able to identify extra hosts. It's just through the setup, the package of Zoom accounts that the Borough President's Office had set up together. They had originally were not supporting this, but they were convinced that they should provide it as a package to all the boards so that they could then have Beta NYC, who is Noel, who jumped on during our full board meeting at the end there, that they can support the different boards in doing this. So that's TBD, all the exact details. But so you guys had heard what I had said about sort of focusing on the next week and getting the board in shape, and just as far as sharing information. And then I think that as that sort of stabilizes out, Josh, we can start working on some of the website design changes, which had already been in process, to sort of address what some of the stuff that Robin had brought up and some others had brought up. Do people have other ideas on what we as a board could be doing? I mean, we have
I have something on the original conversation about resources. An email just came from Gail, and if one scrolls down, there's a Harlem Restaurant Association that's put up a list of restaurants in Harlem that will deliver and pick up, and it's a nice looking template to think about.
Okay, yeah. Because things changed today, and I think a lot of the bids went out surveying stuff today, as we get going, we can share that. And there's a lot of information on the bid sites about restaurants that are open as well. And that's just going back to what Dan was saying. That's why I just wanted to have an opportunity for local restaurants if they're going to stay open. I think I've read that it's been a tough go for restaurants that haven't previously been focused on delivery. If they're in the mid price points, I think it's been hard getting up to speed in a way that makes sense for them. And so I think that as things kind of shake out, we'll have a better sense of which restaurants are going to be open for business going forward. I think it's very complicated shifting gears if they're not necessarily set up for that in a manner that makes sense for them. But thanks, Chenault. That's a good idea. I'll look at the template on Gail's for that. People have any other thoughts on?
This isn't for the next week, but I want everybody to sort of just keep it in the back of their mind. And I'm looking at Dan also on this. As you know, I brought up that gig economy legislation in my committee last month, and I think everybody's aware of all the vast gig economy sector who is being affected. And I'm thinking that this is a topic that might be, it might necessitate a combined meeting between Dan's committee and my committee, not in the immediate future, but maybe in the early fall. I think this is going to reveal a lot of challenges for gig economy workers and businesses that have gig workers. And there's the legislation that either is still in play or maybe new legislation that will be recrafted. I think we need to be on top of this now in more than just the performing arts that I was focused on.
I think it makes sense to do a joint effort, so let's do that.
And again, not in the immediate future. I think this is probably going to be more the fall, but I think we really need to be on top of this.
Okay, and if anybody has any thoughts, just give me a call or shoot me an email, or it's very easy for us to put these Zoom meetings together.
I have one thing before you.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to say, I don't know if for this week or maybe in future weeks, but I think in terms of personal safety and maybe doing something with someone from the 6th precinct. I know that on today's the mayoral de Blasio's conference that he did have the commissioner come in and talk about different crime statistics, that yes, crime is down, but that, you know, they have seen an uptick in robberies. And personally here in our neighborhood, I would like to reiterate Carter's 311 app, that I personally had to use the 311 app because there was about 15 people, 15 kids, not from the neighborhood, for what that is, like loitering late night. There's a smoke shop on Christopher and Hudson that stays open. It seems to be the only business that's open late, though they do keep their door locked. But also even the CVS on 6th Avenue, I did witness some stealing going on. So I just, with wherever this goes, I think maybe somebody from the 6th precinct in terms of personal safety.
Yeah, I just spoke with Detective Jackson about 45 minutes ago, and I asked him exactly those questions. I talked to him for about 15 minutes, and he said that that crime to date is down in our community board. He wasn't aware of any specific uptick in any of those issues that you were describing. I know that the strategic response group, which are the heavily armed cops, have been pretty active on the Broadway corridor in any areas where they're high profile stores, as far as you know, they don't want any smash and grabs basically on any of the big stores. So there is a presence around, and I talked to one of the NCOs over at the 9th precinct, and they have had whatever, I forget what the exact language is, where all the clerical staff are out working out on beat posts. And so they're very much in people's minds. I think later at night, the former board member had said to me, who lives in Soho, that he was very concerned. You know, it's very empty, and you know, there's no presence of anybody at all.
Right.
So there's a lot of concern, but it doesn't seem that that's translated into crime per se. But you know, it's going back to New York from a long time ago. It's empty, and when it's empty, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean dangerous, but there's certainly a potential of no safety from having others around you. So it's a good question. I asked it, and you know, Detective Jackson was very clear to say we have not had any incidents. They have. I know that the 9th precinct had been very much in reaching out to local business to make sure their businesses are secured, and make sure all the camera systems are working, et cetera. I mean, but I don't think that there's been necessarily, that I've heard of, and I've asked them, any upticks in anything. And I haven't seen any more businesses boarding up. You know, there was sort of that rush of some of the businesses boarding up, but I haven't seen any new ones. I don't know if anybody else has, but that seems to have stopped.
I heard from the Union Square bid that they saw people boarding up and they were trying to stop it. They were worried about it.
Lower
I heard
Fifth,
that late last week.
Yeah,
This is Michael Levine speaking. On behalf of 6th Avenue and being out late at night, I've been taking my dog out late at night because I feel it's safer, that there are less people around. But I can vouch for the fact that there is no police presence between 11 and between 10 and 11. I haven't seen a single police car. I saw one mounted policeman on 6th Avenue during the day, but no police presence anywhere on 6th Avenue from 8th to 10th Street. That's a little bit frightening.
Did you see a police presence before?
No, but I'm just saying, no, not at all.
There were people.
We've been told that there would be a greater police presence watching what's happening in the streets, and I haven't seen anything.
I will say I have seen a presence watching the Path Station entrance, which is right by me, and that the 311 app my noise issue was resolved in 12 minutes. So
Good.
yeah.
Good. That's good news.
I don't think that the sector cops are responding to a lot of what they normally respond to. And so they're very much free to respond to any interactive complaints that are made. So I think to Valerie's point, that's where 311 really, it's the eyes and ears, and or calling 911. I'm sure they respond very quickly to anything, but I'll mention that actually to Detective Jackson. Are the cars, driving around a little bit more? That that might. I think that's
and I have noticed they are in unmarked cars, because the police officer that did come for that 311 complaint, they were in an unmarked car. So there is a potential that they are out there, that maybe we're just not also seeing them.
Thank you. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And that's an excellent point, because the strategic response group is in unmarked black vans. And those are the ones who've been out over on Broadway, and a couple of people took pictures of them and sent them to me. So I know there's some different presence around, and I know a lot of the detectives and units who might otherwise be engaged in investigations are probably driving around as well, to Valerie's point, in their unmarked cars as well. And so that's a good point, Valerie. Does anybody have any other anything else that Bob or I could look into? Any other things that are kind of open, or thoughts on stuff? Any service issues? Okay, I hear silence. Everybody's muted. Anybody else have anything else to say? No. Quiet. Bo, I see you're there. So you've got Zoom all sorted out? You figured out how to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, great.
The one thing I just wanted to mention, the people, I've been in touch with people, my neighbors in Soho. There's a lot of concern about there was a lot of boarding going on of the windows. The streets are totally desolate. I got some emails from 2 different management companies about warning tenants to not to answer their bells unless they're absolutely, their door buzzer, unless they're absolutely certain who it is, because there are package robberies going on. People run in and grab the packages left in the lobby. So, I don't think there's much we can do about it, but I just think if you could maybe Bob could get in touch with the first and just talk to them about driving around with a marked car. They usually on the corner of Prince and Green because of the Apple store, but the Apple store has been closed now. So I think we need more of a presence. I really do.
Yeah, I think it might be, Bo, to your point, I think that they might be parking more as opposed to driving around. And that's just, a lot of times they're just stopped because there's nothing going on. So we're not seeing them move around as much. But that's a good point. When they're not moving around as much, I think that then people don't see them, and that's a good point. I'll definitely bring that up to them.
Carter, I arrived late. I was at another meeting. Can I just ask one question? Will there be any other committee meetings other than, that's my dog barking, other than executive session during the next month?
Maybe. We have not yet done that.
Okay. Thank you. Quiet, Kiko.
I see somebody else is called in on the phone. Does anybody remember how you unmute the phone? I'm going to unmute.
I think it's Matt Metzger.
It's Matt.
I'll unmute you if I can. Wait, you disappeared.
Hey,
Oh, there you are.
Nope, I'm here. Don't worry. I unmuted myself. How's everybody doing?
Good. You have anything to add from your vantage point, Matt?
I'm currently, as I'm listening to all of you, currently packaging face masks and shields and all that fun stuff. The 30-second brief is, I think, if you want the macro level, I think we're in for a very long 14 to 21 days, the likes of which none of us have really ever seen from a healthcare perspective. So I'm wishing everybody health and safety and calm. And I think in 2 weeks, we're going to be in a different city than we are right now. So I think a lot of this is really good and really useful. And I'm so incredibly proud to be a part of this group. That being said, I think it's going to, and there's no way to predict it, but I think it's going to, we're going to have a rapidly evolving situation on the ground. So be prepared for volatility.
All right. Thanks, Matt. I wasn't looking
for that uplifting finale. Not a problem.
I wasn't looking at the raised hands, Michael, or did you get your question answered?
Yes, I did. It was about other committee meetings. Thank you. I will keep watching for emails from you.
Okay, thanks.
Carter, actually, I have a practical, unrelated question.
Yes.
Isn't this a time of year where board members are going to be interviewed and all that stuff? So
Good.
What's happening on that front?
Good question. They canceled
I'm
all the
actually not,
interviews.
I'm on my off season, but there's half of the board that's not. And there's, people
Yeah.
applying, I assume.
That's a good question. They canceled all the interviews for the open slots. And I don't think they were interviewing board members again, re-interviewing them this year. I can't remember exactly, but looks like it's on hold. I think the existing members are automatically would probably for the most part being reappointed. But my understanding is until they take action, everybody is still a board member. And so you don't.
So the term doesn't end.
Yeah, you don't stop on a date if they've not appointed new people. The old people still continue. So for current board members, I don't think that's an issue. Otherwise, we wouldn't have quorum on April 1st or whatever the day is of the new appointments. But that's a good question. I'll check in with Rosie on that and ask her.
That date has been a moving target over the last years. I'm not even sure when
It is not. It's always been the same date. In certain years, they have not been ready to do it, so it's been delayed. But it's always been technically the same date. Bob, you want to add anything on that?
No, you covered it all. That's it.
All right. But Rosie Mendez, who's the head of community affairs, I guess for Gale, or forget the exact title, but she had advised me that they'd canceled all the interviews, so that I'm not sure what that means, but as far as how they're proceeding, but I'll check into that. But my anticipation is to just try and keep doing these weekly meetings until we sort of figure out a path to move forward. I know it's a lot of time, but it seems to be the most efficient way to kind of sort this stuff out. Certainly if it's too much, certainly let me know if you guys have some other ideas. But in the coming week, we're going to try and sort out some of the basic stuff for the office operation. And so that might help smooth things up quite a bit and allow us to move forward in a better way. And once we have sort of a master list of everything that's in the pipeline for all the committees, we'll have a better sense of what we can start planning. And if people want to hear specific topics or informational things, we can do that too. So anybody else? Anthony, you have anything you want to add? See you're on there.
Well, just in terms of hate crimes, the AG has a new phone number hotline available to report any type of hate crimes that are happening to people. I just want to give an example. This morning, I got on the 6th train on Canal Street to run some errands. And as soon as I got, because I had a mask on, as soon as I got on, a Caucasian lady, she started coughing on purpose and said aloud to herself, "Oh, I'm going to start coughing." And then I turned and looked at her and I said, "Yeah, real funny," and then moved to another train car. So those types of incidences are happening to people, just letting you know.
That's a good reminder.
And is Chinatown, are the restaurants open? Like the ones that can deliver and take out, or are they?
The Chinatown restaurants are open. The Chinatown bid itself was one of the first bids who actually put out a list in the Manhattan bids, in the lower Manhattan. and that list is constantly being updated and available on their website via link. And also they do their e-blast, which some people who don't like to go to a link, they can actually save the photos of the different directories onto their phone.
It's a pretty extensive list from the Chinatown list. It's an Airtable list.
Well, at its peak, it was at 117, but now it's around 95. Each day that goes by, they're like slowly shutting down because they're not seeing many people turn out.
Are they delivering, Anthony?
Some are. Some are delivering to a specific radius, or if you use a third-party app like Uber or Seamless, then those people will come and pick it up and take it over to farther distances.
Yeah, so that I just texted the list over to Robin, but that's an example of, you know, one of the bids that's doing a great job with keeping track of what's open and what's not. You know, I keep hearing from people who I've talked to in the local neighborhood, you know, people who are in salaried jobs and stuff like that. They want to help their local businesses if they're open, or the restaurants, or order something. I mean, that's people just, they want to help, or, you know, spend money if they can, and, you know, their disposable income is not being spent where it normally is, and so ordering out is a nice change, I think, for a lot of people. And you know, knowing what's open in your immediate area is really helpful. And also, I think if there are alternative ways to order in a manner that the restaurant captures the most value for that order is really helpful as well. You know, I'm not sure what the status of all the delivery fees are, but I know that's something that people have spoken to a bit. All right, so I think we're good. Josh, do you want to add anything?
No, sorry, I've sort of been in and out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I know you got your hands full, so I just wanted to.
Yeah, we also had an interview with the co-op board with buying a home, so I didn't realize this was happening at the same time.
I will let you go back to that. That sounds.
No, that's over with now, yeah, but nothing else to add.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks, everybody. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations to Josh.
No, thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Oh yeah, thank you again, everybody. Oh my goodness, I'm totally on my mind. A lot going on, but really, I mean, when Bob told me I was floored, I had no words. So really, thank you all.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you next Tuesday, right?
Yep,
Yep.
next Tuesday.
Same place, same time.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.